Hello. Are we live yet?
We are totally live. Hello, everyone.
Good
We
morning.
are Sasha and the cat.
Leveling up, all about Google Suite.
Yes. So we're here today on Monday. We're going to be talking about all the fun things of Google Suite so you can make sure you maximize your um, usage of it in your productivity, whether you have a small business, whether you're just in your corporate life, because we love it.
Yeah, it's super necessary for productivity, organization, personal and work. You name
Yes.
it. Does everything. And
And
I feel like everyone has a Gmail. I guess that's also part of why we thought of adding this talk is everyone has a Gmail, but no one really knows like all the ways you can use the other parts of what Gmail gives you access to. So,
right. And it's like, I feel like I don't know if you took this class, but in college we took um, like a basic computer science class that was just basically Microsoft Office. Actually, it was an Excel class, right?
right, right.
And then you're like, wow, this is what I can do in Excel.
Yeah.
um, so I kind of feel like a lot of that has also gotten lost for Google Suite type of stuff. But
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think it's beneficial too for Mac users because you don't have easy access to like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, which back then that was like the standard thing that
yeah.
everyone used, but it's not friendly towards Apple
Yeah,
products.
no, and then when you're in school, you get Microsoft for free, and then you graduate college, and you're just
Yeah.
like, this is $170 a year
Yeah.
or
But
whatever it
Google
is.
Suite, Google Sheets, Google Doc, it's all free. So,
Yes. So we'll get into that in a little bit. And if anyone is watching, and you have any questions, again, this is an open forum. So if you have any Google um, tips, even that you know how to do for Sheets, Drive, Forms, Gmail, Calendar, anything, photos, just feel free to put it in the chat and we can talk about it too. We are we're not experts on Google Suite, but we do use it a lot. So hopefully we can bring something to the table here.
yeah, and
Um,
even if you guys just mention how you use these things, I think that'd be nice to know.
yeah. How do you use it in your everyday lives? And
Yeah.
then even if we don't answer right away, just stick around because we will get to your comments at the
Yes.
end, if anything. Um, but yeah, Sasha, how was your week?
It was good. I was trying to think of a story of the week. I guess the only one would probably be the conversation I had with my younger sister.
Oh yeah, tell us about Big
And I
E's
guess, you
conversation.
know what? I wonder if we should look up what generation she'd be considered.
Right, I feel like she's like the next.
I know.
How old is your sister?
13.
So, what year was she born? What year is that?
I think
2000,
oh 07 or oh 06. I think oh
2006
07.
generation. Oh, she's
Uh,
still Gen Z. Interesting.
oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think Chris's brother is 96, one of his brothers, and that was right on the line between millennial and Gen Z. So his youngest brother is 98, and that's Gen Z. But that's interesting that 2006
I know.
is also.
Wow. So, we were talking about streaming and Twitch, and she was basically just saying how she was following a lot of streamers before the pandemic and kind of like before 2020, and she noticed how like a lot of them just all blew up. And we first started talking about the game Among Us because she was
Mm,
saying how that's like super popular, and I was kind of curious because I guess my view of video games from a millennial perspective is like I don't know, like PlayStation or even like World of Warcraft type of computer games where like they were very sophisticated in the graphics
mm.
and in like the ways you could work with a team and stuff like that. And I'm kind of surprised that those games aren't as popular as the current games that are like Among Us and kind of like Minecraft and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's just because the games like Minecraft and Among Us are more accessible because they're just like computer games.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for like PlayStation, all that stuff, you have to like be on that system and you can't really like stream from your computer. I don't know. Maybe there's like other technicalities to it, but
I think it's also easy
um,
to get in and out because maybe other games it's like a bigger learning curve initially. Um,
true.
and Among Us, it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, you're just, the maneuvering is easy, and then you're like, kill, 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 and then
Yeah.
it's done.
But I was talking to her about because she was like, yeah, I could tell that like the trend of it was just gonna like happen and then go away. And she said now it's kind of like on the downside of like Among Us. Because she was like, it's fun, but it's not like that fun.
Right,
And
because it's quick. It's not
right.
like,
It's
yeah.
not super involved. And then I was talking about thumbnails and stuff. I was telling her how we were experimenting with different thumbnails on our YouTube channel and all that, just to see if that helped with like getting clicks and stuff. And she was saying she has this one person she follows where they have the same thumbnail for like every video, but it's videos of just him streaming playing a game. And
It's crazy.
she was like, so sometimes it doesn't even matter. But yeah, we just had the conversation about that. She talked about like faceless streamers, like
Like the
Dream
corpse
was one of them,
dream. Interesting.
and Corpse
Husband.
Husband was another one.
I watched, so Corpse Husband was on Jimmy Fallon the other day. And they were playing
Oh,
Among Us. Jimmy Fallon, The Roots, and then two of the kids from Stranger Things, and then two big Twitch streamers. I think she was Ray and Corpse Husband.
yeah.
Um, or isn't that crazy that you can be on
It's
Jimmy Fallon for being a streamer?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's just this whole new world that I was just so interested in. So it was cool to like hear her perspective on it and like her take on it because she's so much younger. Um, but yeah, that was my story of the week.
So is she a big streamer?
She
I mean, not
watches
streamer,
Twitch.
like yeah, Twitch, yeah.
Yeah, she's on Twitch a lot. She plays Minecraft.
Cool.
But I think she mostly just watches people stream. Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing too because I mean, and we could talk about this in another chat maybe. Where now because there's so many videos, what are the videos that attract you the most? And I know that like your sister's not even the biggest gamer, but to watch something live happening maybe
Yeah.
is more interesting to her, even though it's about gaming.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure if anyone's watching this, they're like, "What's wrong with gaming?" There's nothing wrong.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with gaming. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, no, I
that-
was asking her, I'm like, what do you watch it for? Like, is it to see their reactions or is it to see, I don't know, like what's the whole thing about it? And she was saying that there's times where you can like do certain tricks or like try to like avoid a situation by doing X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of cool to like see the person decide like when to do that and stuff like that. So I guess it is like the strategy that they're applying.
It's so funny because I get that way when I watch, DIY tutorials.
That's true.
Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's how you do it. Maybe I should just like do a bunch of DIY live streaming.
Right. I know. I guess you could apply the same logic to so many things.
Well, I guess because it's like you have to know how to play it, but there has to be something missing so that you want to watch somebody else master
Do it.
it or figure out a way around it so that you could be like, oh yeah, that's how I get to the next, which is interesting to me because part of the thrill is figuring it out, but sometimes there's so many things to figure out. You're like, I need to watch
Right.
somebody.
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes I compare it to just like when you're growing up. I remember my parents at least, like they always had the TV on just because like it was like company or fake company. So I feel like part of it too is just like you feel like you're surrounded by something or someone or like a group of people just by listening to people stream. And it's probably comforting to a sense because they're just playing a game. Like they're just chilling.
It's so interesting because when you say that, I'm like, I feel like we need so much stimulation now. Like I can't fall asleep, and I know this does not apply to you, but I can't fall asleep without some kind of noise, like it's probably TV background noise is what it really is. And I used to like have it on, and then it's on a timer, and then it shuts off after I fall asleep.
Right.
And like Chris wasn't home the other night, and I like couldn't fall asleep. I was just like, but I just think like back in the day, it was dark at like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was
I
literally you
know.
sat in the dark.
I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but anyway, we'll get into our talk now, and I'll come back at the end because we are going on a trip together, Sasha and I, this weekend,
Oh, yes.
with another friend of ours, longtime friend. This was actually the friend that I met first in high school, and who then introduced me to the team here, Sasha.
Oh, so he's the link?
He's a link because he sat in front of me. Our last names were S's in
Oh.
science class, and then I realized I had him for another class. Math, I think, is what we had all together in Riggins. And
Was it
then
in so it was freshman year? That's when I met
yeah,
him too.
right. So then, and then you guys were in photography together.
Yeah, we
So
were in photography, and I think I met him more through photography, but then I was like, oh wait, because I don't even know if I really had him in classes.
we definitely had math, I think,
I
together.
think it was only math.
And that's how I met you. But
Yeah.
Sasha and I were not friends. Like, I mean, we weren't not friends, but we weren't friends. I think
Yeah.
up until like senior year, you came to like one birthday party because I had,
Well, no, I feel like even in freshman year, I was like friends with Geraldine more than I was with you, just
yeah,
because she like dyed her hair and we both dyed our hair. But
and rainbows and
yeah, but I think
interesting.
yeah, you were you in theater in freshman year,
I
or
was
were
in
you in band?
theater. I was in
You were in
theater.
theater. Okay.
Yeah. How funny. What a life. That feels like a lifetime ago, team. If anyone was in high school and over 10 years ago, please let us know how you feel right now. I just like it when you relive it, it feels so fresh. But
Yeah.
then, and I hope it always feels this fresh. I know when I'm 80, if I even make it to 80, this will be all but a blur. But
Yeah.
I just am grateful that I remember literally not I don't remember meeting Sasha, but I remember the haziness of like purple hair and rainbows.
I feel like when I think of you in freshman year, I just picture you smiling like, like just like happy cat.
I love how people watching now could also be like, she still has purple hair and this chick is still smiling. I don't know what they're talking about. What are they reminiscing about because
Oh
it's
my
current?
gosh. That's hilarious.
But anyway, so Google Suite, everyone. G Suite is also what people would normally refer to it as, but I wanted to say
Yes.
Google because in case.
Well, and I feel like I only first ever had Gmail. Like I didn't even know Gmail was connected to Google Suite. Like I didn't even know that there was a Google Suite. It was just like I just knew I
Gmail,
had a
like
Gmail.
Hotmail and Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
AOL.
logged into my email and that was it. But then I learned about Google Drive. But even then, that was like kind of all I knew about in the beginning. And then my whole world opened up.
Right, and it was almost like this slow integration, at least for us millennials over here, of just exploring. I feel like now the concept of like, even the concept of apps is more obvious.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past, even for us to be like, oh, you have to download an app to then access more things was an interesting concept because on your computer, you download software programs.
Yeah. Right.
So you're like, what do you mean? Download an app on your Mac? Like,
Yeah.
So definitely the introduction of the other aspects of G Suite into our lives has been life changing. So
I know.
Gmail
I guess
or Google Calendar, sorry. I don't know. Whatever you want to start with.
So the main thing, I think the main aspect of Google Suite that I enjoy the most or find the most useful is the Google Calendar. And I only got into it recently, so I'm not like a pro, but I feel like I'm up there. But I guess I like that it syncs really well, obviously, with your Gmail. And I feel like everyone has a Gmail, so that's why it's just so useful to use all these tools that they offer because everything's connected. So it's just a lot easier. Like you're not, before I was like using the calendar that was already on my iPhone. So I was like manually adding all these things. But with Google Calendar, as soon as it notices something come into your Gmail, it just puts it on your calendar. But they've also updated things to where the images are pretty cute. Like if you put like a lunch break or a workout break, it'll put like a little picture of like, a little clip art type of picture of those things.
What a motivating alarm.
Yeah, it just seems like more organized.
I'm going to open up calendar somewhere here.
Oh, cool. And then the other thing I like too is you can do events, reminders, tasks, goals. You can even put goals. And like I went into that rabbit hole one day, and it basically noticed
No weekly sneeze.
it basically noticed like when I work out normally, and then it like set a goal based on
Wow,
when
I didn't
had
know
an
that
opening.
part.
Yeah, it like chose the days and times for me and just added it to my calendar. Yeah, and I was just like, and of course, I mean, the times weren't perfect, so I didn't like follow it, but I thought it was cool that they even have that as a thing. So that was one thing that's part of it. The reminders are cool too. You can do like all day reminders or specific time frames, and it'll show up on your calendar in that time slot. And it just helps in case you needed a reminder for something, and you could just check it off whenever you're done. And if you don't get to it that day, it like naturally goes into the next day, which I like too. It doesn't like just stay on that one day.
Interesting.
And then the tasks is another one that I like because you can actually hit mark as completed, and then it actually like shows a strike through.
Satisfaction.
Yeah. So it's like it's
Satisfaction.
still, the reminders go away after you hit complete, but the tasks stay on your calendar for that day, so you can actually see like that you completed it or whatever. So that's been super useful. Even just like me forgetting to water my plants, I set a reminder for it, and I just make it like every week or every 2 weeks, whatever I need, and it just comes up on my calendar. So I love it. The color coding thing is another thing I like a lot, where you can color code basically like everything that you assign as a category in your Google Calendar. So I don't know if I can show this on my actual phone or not, but here's kind of like, I don't know if I want to show my job, but
Yeah.
so you can do colors depending on what you're scheduling. So
that every time you schedule, it'll go into that color.
yeah. And then there's different views too, that you can do.
Well, I
But,
like
this is kind of the craziness that it looks like. But like if it's
Sasha's
that pink,
crazy.
if it's that pink color, I know it's like an acupuncture thing. If it's a different color, it might be for my other job. If it's for, green, it's for us. So, I don't know, little things like that are really
I also
cool.
like that you could do by category, but then you could also have multiple calendars. So let's say you start doing acupuncture treatments, and then you have a separate calendar altogether. But you can still just like click to add, right? But then you choose a calendar rather than choosing a category. And then if you want to share, let's say you have an assistant, you just want to share the acupuncture calendar with them. I feel like that's very, very convenient.
I think the calendars are linked to the Gmail. So I don't know if you could, I think you'd have to have like a whole separate Gmail that's just for acupuncture
No,
or whatever
you
it
don't.
would be.
You can
Really?
Well, that's ideal that you would be working out of your acupuncture, but let's say you work out of your acupuncture, you can share that to your personal too.
I did not know this.
Yes. So then that way, because when I used to work for this, I used to work for this guy, and he had percussion lessons, and I didn't want all the other calendars on my personal calendar. I just wanted to know when he had his lesson so I could manage other stuff. And so I just shared that specific one with myself.
Oh, wow.
So that basically your assistant will always know just what you're doing, acupuncture or whatever employee. But I think in the small business aspect, that's really helpful because, like I have a kitchen, under the Kits and Pieces, I have just a whole separate calendar of just events. So when I was doing like flea markets and all of that, or farmers markets, or when we had like anything big coming out, then I would just share that. My dad was working with me at the time. I would just share that with my dad, so he would just be like, "Oh, this is due," and not see all my other social media posts and
Yeah, that's so cool. I know there's like the subscribe to other calendars, and that's where you can like see someone's complete calendar, I think. So you would just add their email or Gmail to your calendar, and then it's like synced up, which I think is cool too, even like in a personal way. Like if you and your partner have a Gmail account, but you guys both have opposite schedules or different meetings coming up or whatever, and you don't want to like constantly communicate all of it, like, hey, this. So it's easier just to have it on each other's calendar, and you could see like, oh, that they're doing this at this time. Okay,
Well,
cool.
yeah, sometimes I look at my calendar and I have Chris's on mine, but if I don't want to confuse myself with planning, I'll turn off his while I'm planning
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't show
Yeah.
up, and then I do my thing and then I turn it back on.
Yeah. So that's another thing too. It's like very convenient to view it or not view it. And you just basically check a box. Like once you subscribe to the person's calendar, you can just check and it'll add it to your calendar and it'll all be together. Or you can uncheck it and just you won't see it. But it's not like it's gone. It's just that it's not in the view.
Should we just maybe make one calendar invite under the Sasha and the Cat calendar and share it?
Oh, that's a good idea.
That would be on your end though, because we
I
all
wonder
know
if
Cal's sharing abilities here.
I wonder if I even have it linked to my current G calendar.
Well, do you have it on your computer? You can share
Um,
your screen, I mean.
yeah.
And so that is, well, I also like in the calendar we're saying too, that you can choose it to send yourself an email reminder, or even like an alert reminder, which I feel like a lot of people, I guess the point of bringing this whole calendar thing up, because I feel like a lot of people are familiar with Gmail and the calendar, but when you're working on your small business, you don't want to spend a ton of money on other stuff. And yes, we also recommend Calendly, for example, to schedule appointments. But in terms of managing a bunch of your own tasks and then sharing maybe with other employees, I think Google Calendar really helps with that. And a lot of times we ignore all the other stuff. You know, you open a new event, which I would like to share our screen, but you open a new event and you just like title, time, and then save, you know?
Yeah.
If you take even an extra 5 to 10 seconds to categorize or put just a little bit more detail, it really helps the organization throughout your day. It sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what a waste of time, but then you start adding more and more and more, and hopefully as a small business owner, you are adding more and more and more. It just becomes hard to navigate and remember everything. So even though you have your calendar, maybe you're not looking at it all day, maybe you need a reminder.
Yeah.
So
Well, another thing I wanted to show, which I learned about recently because I Googled it, and I'll just share my screen really quick. But you can go, so this is under settings in your Google Calendar. You can go to add calendar. That's how you subscribe to other calendars. So that's when you want to share your calendar with someone else, and you would just search their email here. But then you can browse calendars of interest. So let's say you're into basketball and you want to know like when the games are. You just click on it and
interesting.
I think it like adds it, like you can choose the teams you're into, which right now I'm into the Nets because I think they're a really good team, but I don't know where they are in here. Whatever. I don't know enough to fully get into all this, but let me just see what it looks like if I check it. Calendar added. Cinco de Mayo.
When do they
I don't know how it works then.
go
Unless
back
it's not
to
in the view. Maybe I chose a bad team.
no?
Whatever.
I mean, maybe it's not in June. Maybe they're not playing.
Well, they're
Well, now
their
you unchecked
games
it.
should be happening unless they. I think I picked a bad team. I feel like I haven't even heard of that team.
I know.
Anyway,
I was like, what is that?
I have experimented with it before though, and it does work. But I thought that was super interesting. And the way I found out is I looked up like, how do you find out when games are? And then I found out that you can just add it based on your interest. And I was like, damn, Google does it all for you.
Interesting.
So that way, it's like if you ever just don't want to miss a game, then you could do that.
Yeah, I am a fan of that. I love that it has these emojis. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, it kind of makes me a little bit happy right now. But I honestly think I've considered that this is my last year purchasing an agenda.
I know.
I think
Yeah,
because of Google, that's how much Google Calendar has impacted my
I
life.
know. I do. There's something about writing stuff down, but I still
Yes.
do that. Like when I'm working on my tasks, I'll still use a notebook and paper and just, take notes based on what I'm working on. But man, it just helps. I think the biggest thing for me that helps or that allows it to be so successful is you just always have your phone on you. Like your agenda, you don't always have on you. So if you're just in the middle of doing whatever and you're like, oh, I should add this to my calendar. Oh, I don't want to forget this. Or, oh, I should do this tomorrow. Like you can add the task, you can add the reminder, you can add the event. Like it's just so accessible.
Well, what
Um,
I do like about the agenda too is when you open it, whether it's on a month view or week view, I like seeing like, oh yeah, Saturday this is happening, and which I think digitally,
yeah.
even though you can see the whole week, it still doesn't stand out as much as like, oh yeah, final exam.
Yeah.
It's lost within all the
Right.
letters, even if you have it in like an orange and that's like your trigger color, but maybe it's the fifth item and it doesn't show on a week view.
Yeah.
So you still have
That
to
is
go
one
like day
thing.
by day.
Like Google Calendar has different view options too, which I didn't really know at first, but there's like the month view and then there's the week view, a 3-day view, a
What the
day
heck
view.
is well, I have 4 days for some reason, but what is
Oh,
a 4 day view? Oh, because I'm on my computer. Um,
it's just like the next 4 days.
I never, people use that next 4 days.
I honestly used the 3-day the most.
Well, because you can see on your phone, you can see more. But I think on your
Computer.
computer, a week view is
Oh, I see what you're
normal.
saying because it's spread out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
You're like, why am I looking at 4 days? But I see
I
it on
guess
your
it's just so
phone.
you can plan ahead immediately, like just for the next 3 or 4 days versus like seeing the whole week. But I like the 3-day view. I also like the I guess I like the day view more than the schedule view
Wait.
because what?
If you literally press
Found a
on your
hack?
computer, like if you press M, you can see the month view. If you press D, you see the day view.
Really?
And if you press, okay, so if I go month and then I go left, no,
Oh
I
wow,
can't.
and
I
it
can't.
works if you put W for week.
Oh my gosh. So then X is 4 days and A is schedule. What's A?
That's another thing that I
Oh
feel like we
my
should
god.
look up is like all the different shortcuts and stuff that there are for things.
Well, next to it, it'll say month, and then next to it, it has an M. And I was like, why? Who cares if there's an M? And I was like, oh shit. That's a
Oh
shortcut.
wow.
But I also like the schedule view. Can we talk about the schedule view a second? Because I am definitely a person that has a lot of tasks in one day. So even though I can see a lot of tasks in one day that are not necessarily time sensitive, meaning like I don't have an appointment from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
I just have A through Z that needs to get done. And maybe I did schedule it in my calendar a certain way, but I like the schedule view too because you could just see as a listed item of
Yeah.
like this is what you have. I mean, yes, it has the date next to it, but
Yeah, it's the day and the time. My only thing, I like the day sometimes more than the schedule because it does show those time slots. And if you have things overlapping or like at the same time, it shows them next to each other. Whereas in schedule view, like
It's
everything is listed.
yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, wait, what time should I do that at or whatever.
Right.
But it is nice because it is just like a list fashion, which I think,
Which is kind of like task, but not
yeah,
really.
exactly. Right.
All right, moving on. What is
Yes.
the next? We have Google Photos. Was that the next one? I lost in a second
Yes.
here.
Google Photos. I just don't want to be the only one talking. We can do Gmail too.
I'm a big form fan.
Okay, that's true. Google Forms. That's
Okay.
true.
The only thing is I can share, but it's way too complicated. So,
Well, I will say too, just because I like organization in my brain, I guess I would or categorize Google Forms along with like Google Slides, Google Sheets, and Google Doc, where it's like everything is just a way to create something in Google Suite. So Google Forms is just a way to create forms. Google Sheets is like Excel. Google Doc is just like Word.
I think for me though, what stands out about forms is because I feel like, yeah, like you just said, Doc, Word, whatever. Okay. But forms, I think naturally we're used to be something that you would have to go to a certain website and embed in your
Yeah,
website,
right.
or get that link and they have to go to that website and fill it out and do a survey or whatever. It was almost like a survey. It wasn't even like this is an application form or something.
Yeah.
And I think for a small business, it's so important to, at many points in your life, to get feedback from
Hmm.
people, whether it's, testimonials, and that's what you use your form for. We use it for, a preliminary get to know you kind of form. Um, so many things, right? Sasha's working on a form for the future, for acupuncture. Um, so there's just like many different things where you can collect information, but more than just
Yeah.
like, let me get your email or let me embed this ridiculous form into my website.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like the main thing about Google that makes it superior to other platforms, because I feel like the only thing you can compare Google Forms to is like a writable PDF, which no one's gonna do. Like no one's gonna make
Right.
a writable PDF and send it to people. But with Google Forms, like you just share the link and then they can just fill everything out, and it's so customized. Like you can choose every question. There's so many different types of questions you can have on there, whether it's like multiple choice, checkbox, drop down menu, short paragraph, long text. I mean,
And
required, not required.
even if you just need someone to turn in, let's say you need 10 bios from 10 different people. And
Yeah.
even just using that is like, you don't need to have 10 different emails. Like, yes, they respond and it tells you they filled out the form, but you just go to the form and it has all recorded 10
In one
responses.
place. Yeah. Whereas
So,
normally you might have like emailed them and said, "Hey, can you send me your bio?"
yeah.
But if you just send them the link to the form, you could send the link to 10 people and then they just all, and now it's all in one place. You don't have to like go through your emails and find them and copy and paste or whatever. So it's just so much easier.
Um, see, that's what I was like. When I signed up for the membership for this event group that I'm in, they had a Google form. And something that I also liked about it was it doesn't seem unprofessional. Because even
Right.
though you just made this form yourself and had put your logo, slapped your logo on it, um, it still, I think, holds up to the standards
I
of
agree. I think the
business.
design of it is well thought out. I think they do a good job at like even having you have the option of like customizing the colors and adding your logo and adding like everything about it is custom. Like the title, the description, all the questions. I mean, it's all the options for the questions. It's just amazing.
I
And I feel
think
like it looks professional, but it also looks familiar. So I feel like some people are a little more like, I don't know, comfortable with it.
Right. At first, you're like, oh, Google Forms. Like, I would never use that. And I feel like that's why it's worth bringing up because it's made our lives so much easier. And yes, we've been using it in the form structure, meaning like someone needs to fill this out for a certain purpose and it's more than just one question. But I feel like even if you just use it for one question, just to record all responses, it's very helpful. I think it also, in terms of email etiquette, I think it really helps because let's say you do have a lot of questions for someone. Everybody hates getting long emails. And this
Yeah.
is a way to kind of get away with a long email, but making it look short.
Yeah. Well, I feel like in the past, like I've had, for example, like a job I was applying for, send me an email of like, oh, answer these 10 questions or whatever. And it was just like in the email, like number one, number two. So then I had to like respond and put my answer right after number one and number two. And if it was a Google form, it would have just been like, you just type my answer and then I'm done.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It's
I love it.
it's it's
Yeah.
definitely
We think
grown on us.
small businesses should definitely use it. Um, I think everyone should use it though, depending, I mean, on the context, but I just think it's highly useful.
Sorry, one more thing that I totally forgot because we haven't done it in a long time is if you use it on your iPad or there's a presentation view almost where if you do like I want to see if it shows it, but basically you can have it show a little bit more professionally if you're someone is just coming in and filling out a form rather than just looking at this form, which already looks nice. But I just think it translates well to multiple devices, I guess is
Yeah.
my thing. So if you're at like a live event and someone is signing up for something, it looks nice. I think MailChimp also does this really well where you can like put a background and it looks like your event background, but then it's like
Yeah.
sign up for this, click
Yeah.
next. But Google Forms also does that. But
And we have one on our link in our bio on our
yes.
Instagram and on our Facebook as well. If anyone's interested in our small business features, feel free to check it out. Tell us how awesome the form is.
Yes. And it's customizable, meaning like, let's say you finish it and you're like, oh no, I messed up one thing or I need to change a question. You don't need to start over. You could just update the form and it's automatically updated everywhere.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
You could just go back in. We could go back in right now and just delete all the questions. And then we'll be
Right, right.
updated.
Yeah.
Um, so going into photos, which I haven't used. So I'm gonna let you handle
Yeah, so that
photos.
one was another one. So for the longest time, I used Google Drive for photos in Google Suite. And I would just upload photos to the Google Drive, organize it by folder, the whole thing. And I thought Google Drive was what Google has for photos. Like I thought that was just it. And then I recently had an issue where my phone was like full, like maxed out on storage, and I had no room for anything. And I think someone told me about Google Photos because of that. And they were like, oh, just get Google Photos on your phone and you can just have your photos in Google Photos and then it's not taking up space on your phone. So I ended up Googling it or YouTubing it to find out like what the whole thing was. And basically, Google Photos is a separate piece of Google Suite. You download the app for it and it's obviously linked to your Gmail. So you sign in that way and it's separate from Google Drive. So even like anything you've uploaded into Google Drive or anywhere else is not in Google Photos. Like
Mm.
Google Photos is its own separate thing. So its own separate storage and everything else. So I did that. And basically, once you sign in, it automatically can tell what photos are on your phone. And all you have to do is hit sync, and it'll just sync all the photos from your phone into Google Photos automatically. And you can just delete them off your phone, and they'll still be in Google Photos. So you might have to download them out of Google Photos and back onto your phone if you're going to use it to post on social media or something. But I mean, it's just basically in its own storage bin,
Right.
which is awesome. So I did that to clear a bunch of memory, and it was life changing. Like, so now what I do is I just get all my photos from my phone, sync them into Google Photos, and you can create folders and organize everything in Google Photos as well. So I'll do that, and then I'll get onto my computer and just take the folders and drop them on my computer. So I just pull them from Google Photos and onto my computer instead of having to like pull them from my phone onto my computer and then organize them and all that stuff.
Right.
Again, just in case you're always on your phone or you typically are on your phone more than your computer, I feel like it's useful for that too. Um, and you can organize it. Like I have some folders that are just like a personal folder where it's like photos of me or like one of business, one of acupuncture. So you can just download whatever photo you might need from that folder on Google Photos without it being on your iPhone and taking up a bunch of memory. So I love it. I love it. The only thing is like when you do save the photos to Google Photos, it obviously cuts back a little bit on the resolution or the quality of it. But I mean, it's not noticeable.
Does it only cut back while it's on the internet or when you re-download it?
I think it's even in the re-downloaded file. So if it's like professional photos and stuff, but typically those aren't going to, I mean, those are going to be on your camera and then you'll put them on your phone. So I don't know. I guess that's different.
Right. And
like this is ideal if it's just photos you've taken
right.
on your iPhone and then you're just like wanting to clear up space.
It's definitely convenient because this guy I used to work with, he has two kids and I think like the oldest is maybe 12, so they're young, right? And he's like, I have 13,000 photos on my phone and they're only 12. And that's just the photos I have on my phone. He's like, they're not even of me. And he's just like, I just don't know how much more memory I'm going to need to get in this lifetime. Like, he's like, and I refuse to pay for storage.
Right.
Which I feel like now everyone's gotten over that. But
Yeah.
I just think it's incredible. 13,000 photos. Some people are here holding on to one photo of their childhood. And this guy's like, 13,000 photos of my kid.
Well, what I like too is because it's connected to your Gmail, which you probably have for your business anyway. Like, once you have Google Photos on your phone, you can sign into all your different Gmails, and you can sync to each one. So like, I'll sign into my personal one and I might sync the photos on my phone that are personal photos into that Gmail. But then if it's like a bunch of stuff we have for our podcast, I'll sign into that email and sync Google Photos to
over
that stuff.
there.
So that way everything's also organized in that sense, instead of it all being on your phone and it's like personal, business, and everything else,
Right.
and it's just like cluttered.
And are you able, is there a limit?
Yeah, but it's like I don't know
Ridiculous.
how many gigs. Yeah, I mean it's not. I think that's also why. Like I think when you download the photos from your phone into Google Photos, they ask you if you want to cut back on the resolution. You can do like the normal photo size. It doesn't make you do that, but if you cut back, it allows you to use more memory or use more storage or whatever longer.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, definitely that has been a trend over the last few years because just the volume of photos. And I think we wanted to also talk about the G Suite today because I think our habits have changed. And in small businesses back in the 90s, you know, you're not here worrying about the amount of photos you have. Like you probably have your product photos, you
yeah,
know, and then you got a professional photographer to come to this and that event, and that was it.
yeah,
Now we're just dealing with so many things, whether we're just documenting every moment. And so you need to change your habits, you know? It's not efficient for you to just have it on your phone and you have all these templates and whatever. So I need to get on that habit. I haven't gotten Google Photos and it's starting to look a little crazy on my phone.
yeah. It feels so good to just like dump everything over into Google Photos. I'm just like, oh,
It's done. Well, I feel
yeah.
like before we all also had these fears, for example, like our childhood photo albums disappearing in a fire. Like, I don't know why, as if fires were just happening in every household, you know?
Right.
And now I feel like, well, my baby photos are still physical, you know, but I feel like in the future, if I have kids, it's like, oh, digital, one less thing to worry about.
Right, right.
Other than
I
the burning
know.
house, but
Yeah. I think it helps too with organizing photos, which I think a lot of people probably struggle with. But it's like if you already have it in Google Photos, I feel like you're more likely to put it into a folder because I feel like the Photos app on the iPhone isn't like super helpful with that. I feel like most people just go to all photos, but in Google Photos, you can just have a different folder
right.
for
And
each thing.
without taking up your memory on your phone, because on your phone you can do albums, but and then it's just like crazy the amount
Yeah.
of albums
Yeah.
you need. I'm like super old school. Um, oh, we have, sorry, some comments.
You do?
um,
Why don't mine show?
Interesting. So, workplace. Tell us about workplace.
Mine does not show that. That's so
Is that
interesting.
isn't that for Facebook? I see here. Um, and okay, so moving forward for a second here, I just wanted to talk about the drive before we ran out of time because the drive is also one of my favorites. Favorites. Um, yeah, so we did talk about losing quality if you get unlimited storage. So I guess if there's an option for Google Photos if you want to keep your quality. I'm going to go
Well,
sign up for it.
I'll typically put the photos from my phone onto Google Photos, but then I'll upload the photos from Google Photos onto my computer and take them out of Google Photos. So it's like it depends too on like what photos you want to keep having access to.
Hold on one second. I have my heater on because
You're
I was
hot?
cold, and now I'm so hot, and I need to turn it off. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm like sweating.
I want to know more about Workplace, formerly known as G Suite. What it says on Google.
Okay. I was like, I may pass out from a heat stroke right now.
Oh, I think they're just saying that Google Suite is now known as Workplace. Like the more correct name is
gotcha.
Google Workplace. Yeah.
Um,
I wonder when that change was made. That's so interesting.
Interesting. That's funny. I wonder how you get away with name changes like that. You know, like wasn't what about those like rappers back in the day? Who changed their name? P. Diddy.
Oh yeah, like a million
A million
times.
times, like 5 different names. Like I literally thought it was like a few different people at one point in time.
That's so funny. I was like, I wonder if it was in 2020, and it was. G Suite is now Google Workspace.
Oh, that's how they could get away with it. Oh, pandemic.
October 6, 2020. G Suite is now Google Workspace.
Oh man. Well. Anyway, so the drive. We all know about the drive. We love the drive. Um, and like Sasha was saying, it's the freeway to all of this stuff. I never have to use Microsoft Office
I'm gonna get my
at
charger really
home
quick.
anymore. I mean, obviously at work they would still use that, but I just think it's better. Okay, so for this is a specific example about Google Docs here. So before I used to have my resume on Google, um, sorry, on Microsoft Word. I was like, wait, why is that not going to anything? So I used to have my resume in Microsoft Word, and I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this. And you have literally 87 versions of your resume.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, different job titles, different companies, different even organization of your resume. You know, you're a rapper in one, and then you're a business account in the other. So at one point, I even had them on a drive, and I don't know what happened to them. They disappeared. I was like, where are all the I was like, I'll even take any version. I'll take the rapper version so that I can reformat it again. Nothing. So then finally I find a version and it's the equivalent of the rapper version. I'm like, I wrote whole paragraphs on the other position. So anyway, I had to switch to Google Docs, like at the time unwillingly. But now I'm like, oh, I just need to reference my existing resume that's in the cloud. I'll never lose it again. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, I like too that it like everything auto saves in Google, like no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I mean, we're not like now we take that for granted, but that used to be a big issue. Like if things did not save and it just was lost, it was like the end of the world. So,
But also, I just think now it's like that saying of like, we ain't got time for that kind of thing. We don't, though. Like, I can't be here sitting looking for lost documents.
yeah.
And then, okay, so basically my Microsoft Word expired, or the Microsoft Office expired. And I was just like, I'm just not going to get it again. Aside from what we said in the beginning, where it's expensive to get it again.
Yeah.
I do think also people are more, I think in the beginning people were like, oh, I want to receive a PowerPoint. I know what to do with a PowerPoint when you send me a file. But now, not that everyone's sending PowerPoints, but now it's like if I just shared a Google Doc or shared a Google Drive file, people aren't as thrown off. You know, like maybe before they didn't have a Gmail you couldn't access, and then you had to go back, change the access, like or viewable access or whatever. Now it's just like, oh, thanks. And then people write comments and people write whatever. They make changes. So definitely a lot of pros. I think the only con for me, which I feel like each thing has their own con, right? But I feel like the only con for me is because we're so quick and changing things so much. It's like, what if I want to access an old version?
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was. I mean, there is a save as, but it's not the same kind of save as.
What I think you can go into like the history.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same for the purpose.
But it's still so much better.
It is. It is. And I like that it has like, I don't know what it's called. Chapters? Is it chapters? You know what I'm talking about? Where it on the left it says like you go to each sections.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And which I I think Google or Microsoft Word does have, but I think you need to activate it or like
Yeah.
create it.
Mhm.
And this is just like I cleaned up our level up shared doc, and I'm just like, oh yeah, sections.
I know. It's
So
so
amazing.
convenient. Yeah. So even if the document's like 10 pages, you can just go to that section and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Google Slides, even though I do use now we have our competitor here, Canva, for Google Slides here. And Kat has always said PowerPoint is the poor man's Photoshop. So Google Slides is now the next poor man's PowerPoint slash poor man's Photoshop
Yeah.
or woman.
I know. I feel like it's, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about slides.
It is a little, I think, a little trickier to use than like the learning curve between Google Doc and Microsoft isn't too
Right.
bad, but Slides is a little bit different, which is why I'm like Canva is pretty great. But for having it on the cloud and quickly creating something that doesn't require someone else having the same program, because you could still save it as PDF and all of that, blah, blah, blah. I do use
Hmm.
that the least. I will say I use Canva a lot for presentations.
Yeah.
Canva has presentations now, too, which is very interesting to me. But
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot better too for PowerPoints and like display things.
yeah. So, but
But I do like that, like for like school assignments and
yeah,
stuff,
I was
you
going to
can
say,
just
yeah.
do everything in Google. Like you can do a paper through Doc, you can do a PowerPoint through Slides, and data or something through not Excel, through
This
Sheets.
this sounds horrible, but like, have you ever worked on a team project and you're like, Susie didn't do anything, and then you can't prove it though? I feel like now on Google Slides, if you had a shared PowerPoint, you can show that little Susie didn't do anything.
That's true. That's true.
Hmm. Thoughts for the future, Gen Z.
Yeah.
um. Yeah, I just think that's hilarious. For potential people in school, but I think for small business, um, I will say I use Google Slides the least because maybe if you had your lookbook on there or some like sales
Yeah.
deck that you would want to show all the time. Um, and if everyone doesn't already know this across the board for PowerPoint, that which also I want to check actually. I think it applies to Google Slides, but again, I haven't used that much.
What are you
But
talking about?
basically resizing the document because the reason we like Google Slides and PowerPoint for design, now that let's take Canva out, is because of the ability to move your text boxes and add clip art, add photos and graphics without limits like Google Docs or documents type of files kind of like limit your borders and because it wants it to be like letterhead style legible and all that, but there's more freedom to design in slides, but you can also change the document size to be a design document. So if you want to do like an 8.5 by 11 a more designy type of document rather than using a Google Doc that is an 8.5 by 11, then I think this type of slides is a good
Yeah.
thing for that. But I really want to get to Excel because y'all know I love some Excel. And by y'all, I mean Sasha.
Wait, do you mean Sheets?
Sheets. That is correct. Actually, on slides they have it too. I'm sorry, I'm failing with the slides here because I just don't use it as much. But slides has it too. So the main thing I wanted to say about the sheets and all of these things are add-ons, which I think a lot of people ignore.
Oh yeah.
Because some of you might be like, oh, but on Microsoft you can do this, and on Google we can't. And even though Sasha and I are saying some of the things that we even said, like, I don't think Google can do this. Maybe it can through an add-on, which sounds like you're like, oh my gosh, that's an extra step, but it's really not that difficult. It's like you press add-ons and then you just select kind of what you want to do. They lay it out pretty well. But like, for example, on Excel, you're able to do drop-down buttons. You know how you talk, like you fill out a form and then you're like select. There's a little drop down arrow and you're like, January through December. Oh, it's March. Okay, but on Sheets, it's not as obvious. Even if you do like, this is getting really Excel-y, but like if you do like data validation, which is what you would press on Excel, you press data validation, and then nothing happens.
Right.
So if you have an add-on, then just stuff like that where it can really add to your, like, all the pivot tables and whatever. I mean, it comes with a lot already, but if you are trying to utilize it more than just your average form, then
Well, I always thought the add-ons cost money or something. Like I never realized
Right,
they're
it's
just free. Like
misleading.
you just click on it and it just gets added and it's there forever. You don't have to like add it every time you open the program or anything. It's just like it's like an extension, I guess. I feel like they should call it a different name.
I know. I'm like, why would you change Google G Suite to Workspace? You should be changing add-ons to extensions so people aren't confused and actually use your thing more.
Yeah.
Writes email to Google.
Yeah.
Oh man, horrible. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna press get add-ons for a second here. My computer is like, hey, you doing too many things again. Can't process you being on Twitch. So here, I'm trying to press add-ons. I just want to see if it says like how. Okay, perfect. So I feel like it's not. It tells you the. Can I drag this here? I am. Well, we're just gonna ignore that the names are there. But Sasha can't see it, but if you look on your phone, you can see it, Sasha.
Yeah.
It just says the app, like the app that it can be used for, or sorry, this app can be used for different parts of Google Workspace, and even though it might not be that obvious, I feel like a quick Google search would tell you which one to get. But I think it's so interesting that like classroom attendance.
Options. Right.
Like it just has the whole template for you. Anyway, that's just like a little bit.
Yeah. I did have someone ask a question. So they said, do you think the pricing is good for workplace? We did Google it. It is Google Workspace. I don't know if there's a difference. That's the only reason I'm like specifying that. From what I've seen though, it's free. Like I haven't had to pay for anything and I use it to its full potential. So I don't know if I know like when I Googled Google Workspace, there were others that were like for different organizations like education and stuff. So those are probably going to have a cost.
I see it.
What I've seen on my end, just using it for like for my business, for school stuff and for personal, everything that we've talked about so far has been free and just kind of included in your Gmail account. Like as long as you have a Gmail, you have access to all these things. And it's easiest to find it if you just go to like your Google Drive or even I guess you can still access it through Gmail and just click on that little top right icon with the 3x9.
I think they're talking about doing it for business, which there is a pricing plan so you can get a custom email, which I do have the $6 a month one connected through my Squarespace. It's so you get like a like Sasha at acupuncture. Whatever.
For Gmail.
Yeah, not Sasha acupuncture at Gmail.
Oh, they're saying that there's 3 tiers to Workspace.
Yeah, there's like the $6 a month is the one I have for Squarespace. I didn't know it was called Workspace. I did it through Squarespace. So, but it has the G Suite admin bit. It's for business. And,
but does that change your access to all the other things like the photos and
I think you just get more, you get the custom email, at least for the $6 one, you get the custom email and you get more storage, but I haven't like fully like, you know what I mean? Like I haven't like milked everything that I could get from the $6 a month, but because to me, $6 a month for a custom email was good enough
Yeah.
for me.
I thought the only
Um,
thing was that you get a custom email. I didn't know that it changed other factors. Because I remember when I had the Squarespace for Botana Bites, I didn't do the upgrade to the Gmail thing where you get your own personal email. Because I was like, if the only difference is a personal email, like whatever. So I
mhm.
didn't do it. But I still feel like I was able to do everything else storage
Without
wise
it.
without the upgrade. So I guess that's kind of like all I can speak on. But
It says here that, for example, the basic one, you get, oh, all of them, but the basic one includes, like, for example, ad-free email experience, which right now they separate it to, you get your main inbox and then, the other inbox that just has miscellaneous. Technically, there's ads on the top. I don't know if you ever see that, right? So whatever. But I didn't know this. Wow, we should totally do this. Meeting length up to 100 participants. 24-hour meeting length.
wow. For Google Meet?
Maybe we should do Google Meet, but through my Celebrate at the Kits and Pieces email. Oh my gosh, thanks, Spoon Spoon.
What do you mean?
Because you know how when we do multiple people on Zoom, more than just us two, it only lasts 45 minutes. What if we
Yeah.
did Google Meet, but through my Celebrate at the Kits and Pieces? Because I pay, so it would let us do it for longer.
Oh, okay. I was like, why your other one? Okay, that makes sense. That's cool.
This is what I
the only
mean by
thing-
I have it, but I don't maximize it. But what do we think about the pricing? I think. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something, but I want to say.
Well, I guess like Zoom versus Google Meet. I feel like I've heard so many people talk so poorly about Google Meet, and I'm kind of like, but why? But I don't know. I feel like people like that Zoom allows you to do a lot of the customizations with like having a green screen and blah blah blah. And I don't know if Google Meet does that, but
Why? Sorry, I'm trying to see why this won't go away. This is very weird.
what are you
What?
talking about?
Like the Zoom icons. But oh, it doesn't matter. Does this show? I don't even know if it shows. Whatever.
It doesn't show.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry. I think I guess it depends on your business. Like, but to me, if you don't have $6 a month, if you really care about making if email and because I think the biggest thing is still the email that you get a custom
Right, me too.
email that's through Gmail, which you can get a custom email through something else, but I think the accessibility of the drive and all of that is just so professional. The only thing I will say is I've had some issues with it. They're very like it's like G Suite. So if I start emailing someone who doesn't have G Suite and has a maybe their own Gmail through G Suite, I don't know. I've had issues because it would be like, oh, so you're sending an email to an outside server, and then you're like, okay, but just send it.
Right, I know.
So then I've had like emails bounce back and all that. So that I think if they could improve just the streaming of it, streamlining it across outside platforms, then I would say totally worth it. I don't know if I would do business plus $18 a month. So there's 6, 12, and 18. Like, you would need employees. Like, I mean, I'm a team of me and then possibly a couple others when I need help. So,
Right.
right now, I'm trying to see like what you don't get. Oh,
Yeah,
like,
what are like the pros and cons, I guess?
so your meeting doesn't record to Google Drive if with the initial one. App sheet build apps without code. I don't need that. Okay. So yes to $6 a month, no to the other ones. Oh, you get a ton of storage. Like with $12 a month, you get 2 terabytes of cloud storage. But then I think, like you were saying, Google, if you do Google Photos, but like how much? Okay, but also, for example, if I was an Etsy business, I'm an Etsy business that does handmade items, right? I don't have a lot of like templates. But if I was an Etsy shop that did downloadables, printables,
Yeah.
where it's just a bunch of online files, maybe I would want the $12 a month to just store all my templates online.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it depends too. Like I usually just use Google stuff as like a facilitator, like moving things from one place to another or like posting. And then I try to get rid of it, but I always keep it on like my hard drive. So ultimately, like I don't really keep too much in the cloud. I like to just keep it on a hard drive and a folder, like all organized, but just use it when I need to use it. But I keep the originals there. But I think if it was someone that doesn't do that and they just want to keep everything in the cloud right there, then I think that that would help with like the terabyte of storage. But that's a lot.
That's just the $12. The 18 gets 5 terabytes. But that's what I mean. Like, is it a lot if you do a ton of video meetings that you need to record?
True.
You know? Whatever. The other stuff, I really think it's just storage. Yeah, more 250 participant video meetings. But like, if I could get 250 people to come to whatever I'm talking about, sure, I'll do $18 a month.
I know.
That'll pay for itself.
I guess it just really does depend on like what your focus is or what type of storage you need based on like your business needs and stuff.
I definitely think though, I will say like the $6 a month is a good intro because I guess when you're coming from the business side, when you go to work, like everybody has Outlook, you know, and they probably pay a ton for corporate pricing so everybody can have their Outlook. And even when I was working at this previous hotel in Miami, and we would run out of storage because each person could only get like something ridiculous. Like I think it was like 1 gig of like email storage, and I was just like, we always had to be deleting our emails all the time. So just as coming from like a business side where you're just starting out, I do think if you are ready to have like your own personal email because you think it's professional, and you do want to be transitioning more to the Google Drive world, which I think is a smart idea, then $6 a month really isn't that bad. And I think even if you do it with Squarespace, you get the first year for free. You don't even have to do that. I think the $6 is good. I don't know about the 12 and the 18 because even then you're looking more towards like, you know, I would probably rather pay for Zoom and Outlook if I was that big of a company rather than paying.
Or maybe you just have to like fine tune how you organize things or store things. Like, I don't know, sometimes more storage just leads to more clutter. So part of me is like, maybe you should just reroute the plan of organizing everything. To make it better. But
well, yeah, I mean it depends on what you do, like we were saying, because we're not in the video business, but what if we were but then again, I don't know.
I think it'd be better to have it on a hard drive though, like.
But I think that's because we're millennials and we haven't thought of fully transitioning to
we don't trust it.
Right.
We're like, what is the cloud?
Well, with important things like that. Like if I was a wedding photographer, my mind automatically goes to hard drive. Whereas my mom was probably going to be like, no, we must keep all the tapes from your video camcorder from when you were 5. So, which I do have. But I'm feeling like they need to be transferred to a thumb drive. See, my mind, I've been keeping them because I'm like, the summer project is to put those onto a drive. And I feel like that's just because we grew up in that. So I feel like a Gen Z would automatically be like, I don't want stuff. Like we think we don't want clutter. They think we don't want tangible things. So I think it depends. But maybe you are a wedding photographer that needs 5 terabytes of storage.
I know.
So, but definitely the 6. I go for the 6. God, Workspace. Terrible. Man, that totally killed my title. The sweet life of Google.
I kept it, but then I put a review of Google Workspace right after because I liked it. It was cute.
I tried so hard. Damn it. Okay, did we cover most of it? I think so.
We haven't talked about Google Meet. I'm trying to think if there's anything we missed.
Yeah.
that we are comfortable with speaking on, but I feel like we talked about everything.
I guess for us, we just really wanted to bring this up because we've been talking about a lot of other apps and some apps and websites that you could use to, organize yourself and like whatever, increase your productivity. But we were kind of undervaluing the one we use the most, which is Google Workspace. And so we wanted to give it a shout out because it's still the one that we both rely on the most.
Yeah.
Even though we use Canva and we use whatever, but like, if Canva's not working, I'm going to Google Slides, like without a
Yeah.
doubt. Um, so we wanted to give it its proper love.
Yes. It's my favorite.
So
But don't forget to follow. We also have a
yes.
YouTube channel where we have our videos posted there and some highlights. And that is just, I think if you just search Level Up with Sasha and the Cat, it'll pop up. We
Yeah.
also have our Instagram, Facebook group, and Facebook page. And we'll be posting our May lineup soon on our
Yes.
Instagram. So check that out.
And definitely, this is like an open community. If you want to start a business or you just like business topics, tell us if there's any topics you want to hear about, or if you want to feature your business, or if you want to get your business questions answered live on one of our next few chats. We are going on vacation together to Gatlinburg this weekend. Like we mentioned with our third friend, Chris, not my Chris.
Smoky Mountains.
To the Smoky Mountains, and we're gonna stay in a cabin.
I can't wait.
But we will be doing a fun stream on one of the days. We don't know yet. We haven't
Yeah.
even told Chris that we're doing this, but
Yeah. We're going to ambush him.
we're gonna
live.
ambush him with a live talk. And we are going to be doing a Monday talk, which he may be a part of depending on his mood.
Yeah.
But we are going to be back next Monday about sensitivity in our society, and we'd love to hear from you and what you think about everything in terms of remaining successful as a business and positioning yourself based on how we feel about, is our society too sensitive, not sensitive enough? What do we think? But over the weekend, this weekend, we're going to be doing a hot tub talk. That's what we're going to call it. I guess
Because our cabin has a hot tub and we're stoked.
we're super excited. So tune in for that weekend chat and next Monday on sensitivity, and make sure to give us a follow. And we are Sasha and the Cat.
Woo!
Sorry, team. I didn't go to the other screen. Bye.